Agent Ward is a promising young field agent with the Commission of Public Safety, which is this sort of shadowy organization that's running the Galactic Empire.
Identified. Agent Ward of the Commission of Public Safety. Issuing planet Trantor. Clearance level Prime.
The Commission? This has all been an unfortunate misunderstanding.
Ward was an orphan. They grew up on planet Trantor, which is like, this great city planet that is at the center of the galaxy. And from a young age, they exhibited this ability to be very empathetic.
Ward is what I'm going to call a diplomatic spy. We go undercover and we try and infiltrate the Foundation. As we infiltrate the Foundation, we're going to be using a lot of kind of diplomatic conversation skills, but also a lot of very interesting tools that as a special agent of the Empire, you have access to.
But ultimately, Agent Ward has this special ability, and this is Agent Ward's story of being somewhat empathic, so kind of reading people's emotions. And as this was recognized by Commissioner Bo, he wants you to develop that power, as he recognizes it as an advantage for the Empire.
I hope you've been practicing. Extend your senses to the world around you. What did it reveal?
Mentalics is based off of the main lore in the Foundation series. So it is based off of the ability to perceive and manipulate emotions and information around you to your advantage. These abilities are represented in different ways. So some of them help you observe things in the world. Some of them help you manipulate characters' emotions. Other abilities in the Mentalic system kind of push and pull your mind into other characters, which you can use offensively in certain situations.
So depending on how the player uses Mentalics, it's a tool. Say they're anxious and they're not focusing. You can use Mentalics to calm them down, and suddenly they'll be like, oh, okay, no, things are gonna be all right, now I can focus. Or say the opposite, say you're trying to get something from them and they're very calm, you may use Mentalics to agitate them and to get them, anxious and upset, so that maybe they'll make a mistake or slip some information that you need. So it's really a powerful tool to find the truth in any situation.
On the other side, there's combat. Mentalics allowing you to kind of push and pull to the maximum, and sometimes that has devastating effects on the characters that you're using those abilities on.
The main thing about Mentalics is it's physical. You're reaching out, you're pulling at their mind basically, and then also you're kind of twisting and pulling, and you're doing these really kind of physical gestures in order to get in and influence and alter a person's emotions or what they're thinking and feeling.
As an agent of the Commission of Public Safety, you have that power that, millions and billions of lives may be at stake, so you have to do what you need to do to get the information. That being said, you have a lot of common relationships in Journey to Foundation, such as with your crew, and there's opportunities to use Mentalics on them, but the question is, should you respect their privacy, but they may be hiding something from you, so then you may want to read their minds. So there is always this fine line of how you want to use Mentalics. And it's up to the player to explore that line.
Ward is not just a Mentalic, they're a field agent, and their powers often center around being able to get into places that they're not intended to be. So they have their hacking tool, they have their laser cutter that lets them cut the bolts off a door or hack access to a sealed crate. I love the hacking tool. When you hack, it's sort of abstracted and presented to you as this cube, and you're having to connect point A to point B. And sometimes in doing that, you're creating a barrier for yourself of making another connection. Hacking using a puzzle like that really, really lends itself to VR. You're sometimes flipping the cube from side to side or turning it upside down to be able to get some insight into how to go from point A to point B. They also have their blaster. And the blaster was given to them by their mentor, Bo, who built the blaster themselves. So this is a very powerful weapon. As Ward progresses through their adventure, they find ways to upgrade this blaster further and make it quite a potent weapon.
Mentalics pairs really, really nicely with the blaster. With your primary hand, you can have your blaster out, and then with your secondary hand, you can use Mentalic abilities. And so one of the most powerful combinations in the game is using something like Weaken. Say there's an enemy with a shield that comes up against you. You can weaken them and it stuns them.
That kind of system is both easy for the player to use, but it offers them a tremendous amount of strategy in terms of like combat, gunplay, ability systems, enemies. It all fits into a system that's well integrated. Each enemy has things that are hard to get around depending on which weapon. So some weapons are really effective, some are not effective. Some characters are really strong or have shields or different things that are really good at providing a challenge regardless of the weapon that you have. So in those instances, you would want to use Mentalics. In certain situations, you would want to use a particular weapon against a particular character. It's these strategies in combat that are particularly interesting.
Our level designers have done an amazing job of creating really challenging combats that evolve as the game goes on to kind of basically match your power that's growing all the time.
I think in playing Journey to Foundation, players will recognize areas where stealth is useful and areas where straight-on combat's useful. The stealth is more for getting around because you're undercover, so you may need to sneak around behind the scenes to figure out what's going on. So this is where stealth is handy. You're trying to get through unnoticed, but sometimes stealth just it's too quiet and you got to go in there and get the job done. Players will find the game communicates well, whether they should be in a stealthy mode or in a more aggressive conflicting mode.
Going in guns blazing is kind of the last resort, usually, if all else has failed. Asimov said, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Sometimes you're in a moment where you have to draw your blaster. There's no other choice and you have to fight your way out, which is fitting for the story of Ward because Ward is ultimately a field agent for a military organization. Like, in this respect, they're unlike a lot of characters in Foundation in that, like, they're a soldier and the Empire is collapsing. They need to fight.
Personally, I'm really, really invested in the narrative and especially the Asimov story. And I really, really love everything that the narrative team has done. And that's going to include things like art and animation, all the character models, all the animations they have, how all of these conversations play out, the depth of the branching, the depth of the characters. There's a huge cast of characters.
Just as VR developers being supported by the studio and by our partners Meta and Sony and Pico to tell a story-driven game at this point of VR's history is really excited.